The Trump team is now apparently planning to turn a massive part of the United States into a military base where legally anything will go. That allows them to skirt the normal sorts of laws that stop them from doing literally anything that they want to migrants they come across. So the plans are to create what they're calling a buffer zone controlled by the Pentagon along a large portion of the southern border. And it would be long indeed. We'll give you all the details. Under the proposal, the Pentagon would assume control of a 60-foot deep strip of the border in New Mexico, lying within the Roosevelt Reservation, which President Theodore Roosevelt set aside for border security in 1907. The land is typically under the jurisdiction of the US Interior Department. The militarized buffer zone could eventually stretch all the way across Arizona to California. And journalist Harris Meyer is referring to this as sort of an internal gitmo where no normal US laws apply. So the basic idea being that if migrants are encountered on normal land, private land, or even land controlled by the Interior Department, then the law matters. You have rights. There's some concern for human rights and stuff. But if it's a military base, 60 feet wide, stretching for thousands of miles or whatever, well, then that's trespassing on a military base, which is much more serious. And you don't have access to the same sort of due process that you would. Now, there's a few issues with that. First of all, it's not a military base. What the hell are you talking about? Second of all, my concern is if you can declare some random stretch of territory to be a military base so that you don't have to comply with the law, what is stopping them from doing that elsewhere? Like at this point. And again, the right is gonna cheer this. The right, which has spent decades saying, if the government ever becomes tyrannical, we need to get our AK-47s and we need to go to town on them. Now, more and more of the border is being seized and converted into a fake military base to avoid due process. And I don't hear any of them complaining about it, Brett. There's more too that they're trying to do to get around the Constitution. We'll get to that, but what do you think about this?
Right, like their goal is to be horrible. Their goal is to be horrible. And like, this is not the answer, buddies. This is not the way to be. This is not a very American position. And it's so ticky-tack too. Like Bill Burr has a line about Elon Musk that applies to a lot right now, which is like, they don't mind a dictatorship as long as they're on the right side of it. But and you get frustrated with the government because it doesn't move fast and it doesn't do the things you need it to do, and the people on your side don't make the changes fast enough. And there is something to criticize there, but those folks are probably in many cases the good guys are having trouble because they look at the rules and they're like, what can I do within the bounds of the rules because I respect the nation. And Donald Trump and his team are doing some horrible stuff, hoping that you will ignore essentially what the founding fathers were all about. Like when they created the system, they were instead of folks looking around now and being like, how do I work within the system to make it work? Donald Trump is actually the thing they designed the country to protect against.
Yeah.
Like he's being a despot. All the things he says are frustrating, like things that are keeping him from having his agenda happen. Like, we designed it to be frustrating on purpose so that he couldn't do these weird things like just call the entire border a military base when it's so obviously not one.
Yeah, no, 100%. And as I alluded to, we don't have much time, so I didn't jump right in this. There's other stuff that they're trying to do too. Administration officials apparently believe an order lets immigration agents enter homes without warrants. So it's wartime. We're at war, so you can just go into anyone's house anytime you want. You don't need a warrant. So again, like, do you see how your rights are being scaled back? Now I know what you think. Well, but most of those homes will be migrant homes. Sure, most of them might be, but there's no limit in this to that. Your right to control your own home, the castle that you are the king of, is effectively being taken away. If they think that you have a migrant in there or whatever they want, they can just go. Oh, by the way, let's say a future Democratic president thinks that we're at war because there's domestic terrorism. And so we need to be nationwide. We need to be concerned about militia activity. And so if we think that you have illegal guns in there, we can just go in. We don't need a warrant. We're at war after all. The president can just declare that anytime he wants. Do you see how the gradual taking away of your rights isn't necessarily still awesome just because you like the guy that's stripping them away? again, it's an utter waste of time to try to get people to understand how this is utterly hypocritical. Kind of feel obligated to do it at least a little bit, but that's what's going on right now. All of this is utterly insane. Again, we were 100% right when we said it's a fascist movement, it's authoritarian. That's what's gonna happen. That's exactly what's been happening for 2 solid months now.